Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast, your favourite weekly games podcast. My name is Kerry Palmer, and joining me from a new location is Jeremy Bratatich.
From a new, undisclosed location.
As opposed to the last place.
Yeah, as opposed to the last place, which was also undisclosed, because why would I dox myself?
You've gone from an old undisclosed location to a new one.
Yes. I'm here. I'm in my new place. It is still a little bit of work in progress. If you see behind me, you will see a load of empty, flat-packed boxes that used to be full of things that I own. Now those things that I own are various places around my home, to which I live.
Is it safe to say, perhaps, that you to use the parlance of the English language, that you have moved house?
I think that is a fair use of the English language to describe what I've been doing for the past week.
What the fuck is this? We miss 1 week and we forget how to speak.
I think we've just never spoken better than we have right now.
Like robots.
Yeah, we needed to shut down for a little bit, and then we came back.
We're like someone plugged in one of those story writing AIs.
Yeah, I've got a bone to pick with those. I think all of those are fake. I think all of those are people pretending to be robots. I don't think anyone has ever done those correctly, and in a way, because they always seem like dog shit. They seem like a stupid moron idiot.
That's why that points more to it being an AI.
No, but they're always funny. They're always funny in a way that I feel like they've set up jokes. I don't think robots are that funny.
They're funny that way, and I imagine it's set up that way because they are written by things that only follow rules.
Yeah,
and
but
not.
I don't believe them. There are very few things I am. Actually, that's not quite true. But there are some things that I'm extraordinarily conspiratorial about, and that is one of them. That is one of the ones that I look at those. I'm like, this is just some guy who thinks is hilarious in a Word doc.
Right. It's like when you watch the rehearsal and you're like, "There's no way these are real people."
No, because I know they're real people. It is you. It is only you that is conspiratorial about that.
It really is only me, isn't it? I've heard other people bring it up as something that other people have said. So I think it's sort of like there's dozens of us sort of a thing. But
yeah, but it is definitely real. And also, you came to accept that as you watched more episodes.
Knowing that was what was actually supposed to be happening did make it more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
I still find it very hard to believe.
What you missed because you watched that a little bit late, was the discourse around, is Nathan Fielder's shows exploitative of people?
Yeah, I was having those thoughts when watching it.
The answer is definitely. Yeah. But also, fuck, it's good television. The answer is yes, but also,
is it unethical? Yes. Is it harmless? Yes.
I mean, I don't know if it's harmless, but it's fucking funny.
All right, let's introduce the show. Everyone, I did say at the start that this is a weekly games podcast. We did miss last week's episode, unfortunately. The events conspired against us. I was busy with work. Jeremy was moving house.
We wouldn't have got it done.
In the words of Bernard Black from Black Books, it was not to be. So here we are, 2 weeks later, but we should be back on track. Jeremy's not moving house for at least, I'd say 2.5 weeks.
Fucking knock on wood.
So until such time as a big event like that happens, I reckon we'll be locked in for a good little while. If you're new here, hello. You can catch us every week on any podcast platform of your choice, as well as live on Twitch as we record the show. If you like what you're hearing, please give the show a positive rating wherever you're listening to us. And if you want to join us as we record the show, we're live every Monday, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Australian Eastern Daylight Time at twitch.tv/minimapau. And yeah, it's great on Twitch. We hang out with the chat before, during, and after the show. So we're gonna have a break in the middle where we'll chat to the chat, and we were chatting beforehand, and we'll chat after. There's just so much chat on Twitch. So come and hang out with us if you got the time on your Monday afternoons. Be sure to keep up to date with us as we post a new episode or anything else for minimap.com.au. You can either go to the website to do that, or you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch, All of those accounts are at MiniMapAU. It's a great way to know what comes out each week as it comes out. Like, for example, last week, 2 weeks ago, episode 129, we did another segment of our recurring segment, You Can Have This One, where we tried to... You're already on the prompt, thank you. Where we tried to come up with what we would want our ideal Jack and Daxter reboot game to look like. And that was quite a good discussion, I think. I think we came out with a pretty good concept towards the end of that one.
I think so too.
It's almost like we went to school for this stuff.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far in terms of us that being the reason why.
Nah, it's the only reason. It's the only reason. Because if that's not the only reson, then that qualification is doing very little for me.
Got
we
some
also
bad
wanted to
news
say
for you, buddy.
No. We also wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. Lastly, if you want to help keep the lights and mics on here at Minimap, you can throw $5 our way and become one of our patrons. It helps us to continue to keep doing this. You can ask us questions to answer on the podcast, and it's as cheap as a latte with oat milk. You can do all of that by going to patreon.com/minimapau. Jeremy.
Kerry.
Enough faff. We've been waiting the exact amount of time that we would have waited even if we had recorded last week, because I couldn't talk about it last week. But God of War Ragnarok is out. It has been out for about 5 days.
You can play you can play it.
You can play it. I don't need you to play it, but we are going to talk about it. Jeremy and I were discussing before the show how much we're going to discuss about the game. For context, I have played the game and completed it. I received it early for work. Jeremy got it on launch and you're about 8 hours through, I would say.
I don't know. I've been playing it in weird amounts. My time tracking for it is all gone.
Yeah, you're at the point I was at around 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were saying you're a third-ish, a quarter-ish, a third-ish, maybe a bit more-ish through the game, somewhere around there.
A bit more-ish. Yeah, like I think honestly, with the amount of stuff that I do in these games, probably safely a third. I'm not a big go around and do a lot of the side stuff. That's my feeling.
Fair enough.
Based on just looking at like my barometer for how far I am through a game that I haven't played, because how can you know? Is I look at like contents for walkthroughs. Like I will go to like a text walkthrough and I will look at the contents page.
And so, like, see how far through you are in comparison to that makes sense.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we are probably going to talk more about the opening hours of the game than you would have seen any of the review coverage that came out a week before release. We're going to talk about
as in the review coverage. We could talk about some stuff after as well, but we're gonna talk about a few of the moments that happen at the start of the game that I don't think you would have seen in those original reviews, certain boss fights that you get at the start of the game and revelations about characters and other characters that you meet and stuff like that. So if you don't want anything like that, if you're really looking forward to the game but you don't have your hands on it yet for whatever reason, maybe jump over this topic and come back to it another time once you've played the first 8 or 10 hours. Because we are going to go into that stuff. If you don't mind if you don't mind knowing some things before you go into it and knowing we're only going to be talking about the first third of the game, because I'm not going to spoil anything for Jeremy or for the rest of you in terms of the rest of the game. Then feel free to stick around, or if you've played it or if you don't care, hang around. It's going to be a good discussion. But that's all of the context for all of you going into this. Jeremy, we were talking before the show, and you said, do you know where I've landed on this? And I said, considering where you are in the game and how much more you have left to go, no, I don't know where you've landed on this. I think I know where you'll land by the end of the game. But at this point in the game... Where's that?
I think you're going to land in a similar place to the original game.
Interesting.
And I partially say that because that's basically where I've landed on my overall appraisal of the game, where I think there was something in one of our discussions about the original 2018 release. When we finished it, I think we said, you and I were having a discussion at some point, I can't remember if it was on air or not, but we said it's a well-told story, but it might not be the best story.
Sure.
And I feel like there's definitely a parallel to be had here with this game in that regard. I think it's very well told. I think it's very compelling, very well acted. It's gorgeous. I think the soundtrack is incredible. I think some of the plot details, they don't do it for me, and I'll leave it at that for this discussion. But
Sure.
That's where I land on this game. Jeremy, where are you on this game? How do you feel about it after you've had a really good chunk of time with it?
Yeah.
What's the vibe?
I think this is a better story told worse.
A better story told worse. Okay.
Yeah. So just for brief context, I think overall, for the most part, I look at God of War in the 2018 one in the same way that I look at a lot of AAA games, which is in this weird window of it's almost too big to fail just because of the amount of bodies and hours and money that has been thrown at this product. It kind of can't come out bad unless you've got like a cyberpunk situation, right? And even then, that was its own thing. The Sony first-party games, they are worked on and workshopped and designed to the nth degree to...
And funded.
Pardon?
And funded.
And funded, and commercialized and in many, many ways, to the point that they kind of can't release in a state that makes them a bad game because they're designed to appeal to the most amount of people. And they do a wonderful job at it. They do a really great job at making sure that everybody who plays the game is going to have a, like, capital G good time.
Totally. Like, with the original God of War, rather, before playing the 2018 God of War, I would have never thought that Sam would actively want to watch me play for the story of the God of War games. And I wouldn't have even bothered.
Yeah, totally.
With the previous entries. But they've,
Yeah.
that's an example of how it works.
Yeah, totally, and that's not a bad thing. But it is a thing I think that I am starting to take into consideration a lot more when I'm playing a lot of these big games. Is that they are the, like we've spoken in the past for a long time that Sony has started to pivot to trying to emulate the Marvel strategy. Them trying to be this big home studio that produces capital P products. That sit in consistently good, sit in the high eights as an average. I think is pretty fair. Their tentpole ones,
higher.
And their tentpole ones fit higher. And they do a lot of similar tactics with running their social media accounts and building up hype and like their whole no spoiler campaign, which while I dramatically disagree with it, is very effective. Is the same thing that Marvel does, which my personal opinion is I think that is a really good way of also removing critique from your product. But that's not quite this discussion. I think this game's pacing, I think, is fucked. I think this game's pacing is completely off. I think it is too designed almost. It is. I can see the walls of this game so clearly, and I can see and I can see the train tracks. I know exactly what's going to happen next. I understand what the next chapter is before I've even finished the chapter that I'm currently in.
As in, like, you get the vibe of what the start of that segment is, and you understand where it's leading you, kind of a deal.
More than that, I know what the one after it is. I'm seeing the, like, well, when you hop on a train and you look at the map of the city and you look at all the stations, like this is that game for me. I can see exactly what's going to come next, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I don't think that the pacing has been settled correctly. I think it is too fast in some sections, it is too slow in some sections, and it's got these weird interstitial bits that I think don't do it any favors.
Okay, yep.
I think a lot of the interstitial bits are actually kind of letting the game down quite a lot. I don't think they're needed, and I think there are definitely too many of them. Because I've done like 4 of these weird they're like for like light spoilers.
This is officially your time to turn around and get out if you don't want the spoilers. We're going into the first few hours now.
Yeah. Kratos and Atreus and the whole gang packs their bags. It's no longer safe at home. And they move in with the dwarves, Sindri and Brock, in their realm between realms little treehouse. Which is a cool little location that hub is as your hub. It is your brief and debrief area. It is where you do your upgrades for the most part. You bump into them along the way, but for the most part you're there. It is the calm after the big battle. But these moments, I think, bring the game down a bit for me. They take.
So you don't like it when they go to the treehouse and they debrief?
It's not that. It's not that. It's just these moments. They don't fit in this puzzle well for me. They feel too normal. They feel too domestic, I think, is actually where they are for me. Like they don't fit. They don't serve the narrative and keep the stakes at the same level and work for the story enough for me, I think. And it has caused the pacing for the first game was very quick, right? Like the first game is a very fast game. You are moving constantly in this game. Like you slow down, but that game feels like a marathon where you're consistently moving from path to path. It reminds...
you've got the one goal. It's to spread the ashes from the top of the mountain. Yeah. And that's what the start of the game is, and that's what the end of the game is.
Yeah.
And there's a million things in between.
Yeah. Whereas the goal keeps shifting a lot in this game. And that's because the characters are trying to figure out what they're trying to do. They're all trying to figure out where their own intentions lie. Atreus has got this grand quest that he's trying to go on, and Kratos is trying to get him to sort of calm down, and you meet Tyr and all this stuff, right? Everybody's got their own interest, but this weird interstitial bit, which is them working out what happens next, just it just fucks the pacing up for me.
Oh man, I do not really agree. I really like those moments, and a big critique I had of the original game is we have to get to the top of the mountain. Oh, there's a fog in the way, so we have to go get a special lamp. And all right, we finally made it back to the mountain, and we can get through. Oh, it's the wrong mountain. We finally made it to the mountain. There's a new portal. Oh no, the portal's broken.
Yeah,
we finally made it to the tower. Oh no, I need Mimir's other eye.
That was a critique. That was a critique that you and I think everybody had with the first game as well. I think that's still fair in the first one, but I think that this game doesn't replace that with anything better. I think the MacGuffin changing in the first one, for over and over and over again, was an issue. But I don't think that this weird, messy, where's the story kind of going? I understand they're unraveling the mystery at the same time, and I understand that, and I think that part of it is interesting, but they're kind of half in, half out a lot of the time. And I also think the interstitial bits, I don't think they're written very well. They're kind of a bit quirky. They're a bit sitcom, weird. And, I don't mean, this is kind of a meaner way to put it, but it's quirky Marvel joke. Right? It's the God of War is a really good cook. And, this Brock guy and... he says fuck a lot. And Sindri, I'm gonna go make a new table, shuffle off. They're kind of not always. They're kind of they're doing these beats as if they're alone, or they're doing these beats as if they're not as if they're the only one in the room. And no one acknowledges them. Because that's how you do that joke, but I don't think that joke works in this setting.
Okay, I personally preferred those moments to have that downtime with those characters and to just get more of those moments together.
Like they are building moments. That they definitely are building character moments more so than the first game is. There are also more characters in this game, but there is like in terms of like the cast there's just more. But like there are characters you meet like that where I'm up to, like there's a new character that I've met, which is good because it's like, oh my God, finally like another woman. But like I don't feel like they're utilizing that space well enough. I would prefer it if they weren't so quirky jokey and were a little bit more sincere with each other. And I know those moments are there, but those moments are the non-directed optional moments. And I think that some of that is the better writing here. And they're not putting that front and center. And so I'm missing it at times.
Fair. There's definitely a lot that's going on in that first chunk, in that first third where you've been, where it does feel a bit directionless, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, you do Midgard and you learn that Atreus has been going to the Jotnar shrines and he can find these secret rooms with extra parts of Grower's prophecies, and then your house gets blown up and you go to Svartalfheim to find Tyr, and then you find him. And then you get home and he's like, oh, Tyr's actually like really fucked up because he's been in prison for millennia or something. And then like Atreus is like, oh, because of that, I don't know what to do now. And I will immediately go and do something else reckless instead. And then he comes back and they're like, oh, we should follow through on this line of questioning. And Atreus is like, oh, okay, great. And then they come back from that and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do next. And then something else spontaneous happens with Atreus. So I like that lack of direction is I feel like more the culprit in terms of what makes these sections feel messier, is because they're always they don't know, they, like you said, they don't know what they're doing, but it feels a bit like at some point I find myself asking at some point, yeah, what are we doing? What are we up to here, guys?
And I think it's the same problem that I'm trying to describe with its pacing issues, is that like because we're not clear on what we're doing, the speed at which things are happening are not quite making as much sense. Only because I'm not sure at what speed, like what gear are we in right now? Like, are we in are we sitting around parked talking, or are we in top gear, like fucking rushing towards the next thing? It is not leaving me lost, but it is leaving me like just a bit uneasy about a lot of it.
I would say that this game only once is ever in top gear, and it's at the very end. And I would say at all other times before then, it is somewhere in between.
Yeah, and I think I'm not going to enjoy that as much. I think
you want a bit more directed focus, do you?
I mean, always, but I want a bit more. Like, yeah, I want more direction. There's another thing that I need to talk about, which is related to this, which I think you're gonna hate. It is part of an ongoing conversation. I was talking about this at work today. It is part of an ongoing gripe that I have. So, a lot of the shows on Disney Plus use a thing called a volume.
Oh fuck! Where are we going with this? Oh my God.
A lot of the shows on Disney Plus use a thing called a volume, which is a big set that has got big screens on ends, and they have high-powered computers that run Unreal Engine in real time, which is a basically digital representation of a CGI set that actors can see and act off. And I think it makes for terrible television, like awful acting and horrible sense of space. I think it fundamentally makes shows look worse when used improperly, which a lot of the Disney Plus shows I think are. I think when it is used properly, there are instances where the volume can be very, very useful, but I think they've been overusing it to the point that every show has started to look the same and started to look very, very fake.
It's kind of like the early green screen issue, right? Where it's like, oh, they're using green screen now because they can and it's more powerful and all of this. Whereas like the volume is more powerful in different ways and good for other things.
Yeah.
But it isn't something that should be used in all circumstances.
Yeah, great for lighting reference, for example, but not for like, hey, a city, right?
It's good for some rooms and some settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having the same issue with this game, where I am noticing a lot of the cutscenes with a lot of characters, they are walking in what feels like a 10 by 20 meter soundstage. And they are acting in a 10 by 20 meter soundstage because like a lot of the pre-release informational videos they show is like, like deep dive into, Chris Judge's acting, for example. And we get to see, him acting in the soundstage with the mocap suit, with the mocap dots all over his face, with the camera sticking above his head, showing him doing his performance stuff. And I think all that stuff is great. Except I think in this game they have gone the route, which makes sense, that they have gone the route of designing in-game spaces to fit the size of the stage that they have to work on. And so that they can walk around one-to-one for the entire setting and then use that footage almost verbatim as they walk around these 10 by 20 meter sections inside the game, and it's replicated directly by the footage that they've had. And I think that makes sense, except I feel like in a lot of the cutscenes, I've been noticing that there are these 10 by 20... this 10 by 20 is just me using arbitrary numbers, by the way, but like a room... they've been using the same room over and over again.
They can only walk so far once a cutscene starts.
Yes, and everybody seems to have the same rules apply to them. And then when a moment like spoilers for early fight, which we know, there's a fight between Thor and Kratos. There is a moment where they have this big confrontation in a 10 by 20 meter set, and then they get thrown kilometers and kilometers and kilometers, and then they enter once again back in another 10 by 20 meter set, and they have this there's a gameplay fight, but then there's this moment where they're walking while they're in like middle of a fight, and then there's other sections where there's a moment where the snake comes back, right? And there's this one
cool scene.
Yeah, cool scene. There's this one little bit where Atreus and Sindri are acting off of each other as the snake is coming off, and Atreus shoves Sindri out of the way for a rock that's coming down. And it felt like once again they were in the same space that they've always been in, and the cutscenes they're not even bad, but I'm looking at the walls.
You're seeing the structure. You're seeing the artifice.
And I understand that it's like that this game is sort of meant to be, it's sort of meant to be like a play in that regard. That's how they filmed a lot of the cutscenes, and I can appreciate that.
And it's also adhering to that one-shot rule as
totally.
well. They can't cut.
They
can't hide stuff in that same way.
They're replicating theater in that regard, right? Where like it's there's no cuts. It is done on a take, and you're being brought into the scene. But these scenes, to me, all feel the same size.
Kerry,
I
challenge you to play any AAA game from the last 6 years and not feel the same.
So, and
it's all done this way. Uncharted,
no.
Like the last God of War, they all do this.
No, here's the difference, right? Is that. So I was thinking about this, right? I was thinking, like, why am I only noticing this now? Why am I not noticing this beforehand, right? And I was thinking back to Uncharted. Like, short of the scenes where they are just like sitting and talking on the hood of the car, right? When they've got these moments, right? Uncharted does a great job at throwing you from a train to a truck to a boulder to a crane onto a boat. They do all these acting on this same scale, right? It's similar types of studios. Like, I'm not sure if Sony Santa Monica has their own dedicated studio, or they share the same one with Naughty Dog.
They have dedicated mocap space in their studio.
Okay, cool. They move their characters around different spaces a lot more than they do in this game. This game has felt very self-contained in their cutscenes. There is.
You need more Aaron Sorkin walk and talks.
I mean, I know there's one in this game with Toby. From what I saw on Twitter.
Don't call him that.
It's
Jesus.
Toby.
It's not Toby.
It's Toby. It's the voice.
It's not.
It's the voice.
It's different.
He was Toby in West Wing. He's Toby in Man of Steel. He's Toby.
No, he was Richard Schiff in all of those. He's the same actor. That's why it's the same voice.
It's Toby. it's I feel like they have two types of shots in this game. There are three ways of delivering dialogue. There is rooms, on a soundstage. There is like just walking traversal gameplay, standard gameplay, and then there are those weird, like, sit down in a boat. Let's talk there.
Like open world, let's fill the space.
Yeah. And also, by the way, why is Atreus' face just never animating?
What do you mean? Like,
as in his mouth moves, but he doesn't emote at all, apart from when he's in.
You mean like in gameplay scenes?
In those open world, like, let's fill the space things. He's just like a puppet.
I don't think nearly any of them animate that well in that scenario, and that's not new. That's kind of the same in Uncharted. They don't really emote that much when they're in gameplay.
Yeah, but they're not facing the camera the entire time. And they're like, I think I need a little bit more from Atreus in this. I like from his actual facial animations, because he's having, you leading up to finding Tia, Kratos and Atreus are having some pretty heavy conversations a lot of the time. Like, Kratos is really grilling him and trying to, like, make sure that what Atreus is doing,
bring down his expectations a bit.
Yeah, like, bring it down, but also, like, I think, like, fortify him and strengthen his determination for what he wants from him, right? Like, really make sure that Atreus knows precisely what he needs from this moment right now, which I'm really enjoying. I'm enjoying Kratos in this game way more than I was in the first game.
I would love to talk about their character dynamics soon.
Yeah, like this is the last point I've got on for the most part my complaints. But like it's like, because he's talking to Kratos the entire time, and because Kratos has got the back to the camera and Atreus is pointing front, like, I need him to have a bit more. Like, I need him to droop his eyes. I need him to change his posture. But he's like a Muppet. And it's
that's a good point, that they don't have any of that physicality in game in just the world. It is, you will get basic phoneme mouth movement, which is auto-generated, and that's it.
And I think for a game of this scale, for a conversation of this weight, and for, like, moments of genuine gravitas, I think they need, like, I need more than that.
Yeah. It's interesting, because, like, you'd get that from a Naughty Dog game, but a Naughty Dog game is shorter, and so it can be more detailed and more focused.
And that's the thing, right? Like, there was so much of that. I don't need it in all of it, right? Like, when Mimir is telling a tale of the Nordic gods of old, I don't need everyone to go like, yeah, that's interesting. But when they're having, like, when Kratos says, like, do my words annoy you or something, and that's like oh fuck, like, I need him to show a little bit of emotion. It's making me roll my eyes at Atreus quite a lot.
Okay.
And part of that is also due to the fact that the rest of the game, there's quite a lot of animation, and they're all very, very directed. When it's there, it is when it's not there, it's very noticeable.
Yeah, it's interesting. Something that kind of blew my mind after the game came out was that, I don't know if this had been announced prior, but this game was developed as a PS4 game first.
You can say it.
Before a PS5 game. They had PS5 kits pretty early in development, but this game runs actually apparently really, really solidly on PS4. Like, it's a 2022 game, and it runs really, really well on PS4, apparently.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. If they're going to do it, they need to do it right, and they have done so.
Totally.
But it means that what we're getting basically is like a PS5 version of a PS4 game.
Yeah, like a PS 4.5.
Yeah, and so that's why we still have crawl space sections, which this game and the last one are great at filling with unique dialogue sections. Like, there's this bit where Atreus swears because they're going through some big thing, and then they do some combat for 5 minutes, and then they go through one of these crawl spaces, a loading zone, and Kratos has this discussion. Mimir says, quite the mouth you had on there, laddie. Like, and he's like, I was so scared. We were flying through the air, and Kratos is like,
you want that? You want those to be your last words?
Is that what you really want your last word to be?
Yeah.
And Trace is like, no.
Yeah.
and like, so like they disguise it really well. They work within it, and it's much better than in the older game as well. There are far less of them, and they are shorter.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the return of the giant circle tree that you walk through until a door appears.
Right.
I'd much rather like A to B, that is the correct amount of time to load it. But like, you know, it's not a huge complaint. I just don't like that area that much.
Yeah, no, it's a loading zone. It's a circle that you run around in.
Yeah. Or stand still.
Yeah, I always used it. I didn't do it so much in this game, but in the first game, I always used it for axe throwing. I always liked finding a really far away point and seeing how far like above I had to aim it and then shoot a thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these characters. So you're talking about this dynamic between Atreus and Kratos and the questions that Kratos is asking to sort of get that to make sure Atreus knows what he's wanting, right? He's trying to find the old god of war. Does he want war? And Atreus is like, no, I don't want that. I just want to find out about my prophecy and this. And Kratos is like seeing through his vagueness because Atreus probably doesn't even know that much, but he wants that purpose and he wants to find out why the giants knew him and what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, he's got a prophecy and he's got a bunch of people that he wants to meet and he's got connections to his heritage and all this stuff.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to see Kratos understand compassionately, but also try and steer him and guide him and protect him while they go on this path to be like, all right, we'll investigate this. This is clearly important to you. Let's go through this. But like, we're not going to do this forever. We're not going to do this for the wrong reasons. And if this goes sideways, we're not going to keep going. He's being a good father, like in at least the best father that he has ever been able to be. And I think my favorite part from the first, even 2 hours of this game, is that you get to see Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir as a functional family. And it feels like the best reward for all of 2018 God of War, where it isn't functional and there's a bit of reconciliation, but it's still a bit awkward. He still calls him boy and still calls him head, and they're friendlier and they're happier with each other, but they're only at the start of that sort of new beginning for their relationship, and this is 2-3 years later, and they are that more comfortable with each other. And Kratos will confide in Mimir and be like, "What do you think of what the boy is saying?" And he'll call Mimir brother, and not just because Mimir calls him brother, but because he thinks of him that fondly, because they are that close.
Yeah, there's a fun level of like, he's my peer, but he's also he's a confidant and someone that he will show his own level of affection to. Yeah, I think it is interesting. I understand where you're coming from by saying that it does feel like a reward for the entire journey of 2018. And I think that I've got a weird, like, because I didn't like you can go back and listen to those old episodes, but like I didn't at all enjoy the ending of 2018. To the point where I think that like a lot of Kratos's intentions and actions did not justify or line up with what the game was saying. And I think that this game largely, like, it carries those forward in a way that I think sits better than the ending of 2018 ever did. I think there is a broad strokes brush of like even if you disagreed with him wholeheartedly like I did, or rather the game's read of Kratos like I did, it doesn't really matter. They sort of set them up to be in a situation where like you can sort of just follow where they're both settled at now, because there's been a bit of off-screen character development,
but not too much. Just
like enough that you understand where they're at. Like, you don't necessarily need the first time Kratos calls Mimir brother, but you can understand that would have happened at some point, and it probably would have been a little bit of a moment, even if no one spoke about it. Rather, I think maybe it's weird that I'm finding the most annoying thing in this game is Atreus. And I'm trying to reconcile, is it because he's an annoying kid, or is it because his intentions are not actually being told correctly? And I think it's a little bit of both. I think, you know, he's an awkward teenager. All awkward teenagers are. He is season 4 of Stranger Things Atreus at this point. He is awkwardly grown up. Brock and Sindri both comment on it like, hey, you look fucking weird, don't you? Which was very funny.
He's too tall.
Yeah. Like Brock, I think, saying like, "What is that?" Like, and Kratos is like, "That's my son."
And Mimir's like, he's just growing up, you daft prat. Didn't you ever have an awkward phase when you grew up? And Atreus is like, "Hey."
Yeah. I'm enjoying all of that. But yeah, I think like, and so I'm trying to reconcile this because I'm finding Atreus an annoying kid, or am I finding the character actually not being told in a way that I'm not finding annoying. I'm trying to work that out.
And it's interesting, right? I watched a video after finishing the game, and it was a video essay on the original. It was an actually incredible video essay. It was like a feature film quality video editing and graphics, and it was amazing. But it was this dissection of how the 2018 God of War game twisted Norse mythology to make their own story. And it was about how to do that. They removed Loki from all of the mythology that was part of the world to begin with, because Loki didn't exist in the Norse realms up until, so far as we knew, the end of 2018, when we learned that Atreus's name that his mother was going to name him was Loki. He is Loki.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Loki isn't Thor's brother because Thor has been around for decades, and Atreus wasn't. Like Atreus wasn't born to him and all of that. And so this game is sort of reinserting him into the mythology in interesting ways, coming into Ragnarok. And I feel that he makes choices and he has these motivations that I see, and I'm like, I feel like he's only doing this because he's meant to stir shit up. I feel like there's not actually that much logic to it, but because he's meant to, he does.
Yeah, like he's an agent of chaos. Like that.
Yeah, but I feel like he's doing things that he doesn't even know why he's doing them. He just does.
Yes.
And like, look, maybe a teenage god, son of another god in a world full of gods and in the middle of a conflict between gods would do that. But it feels a bit like, why have you done this?
Yeah, and I know what you mean, right? Because like, while he was more of a child in 2018, you could understand basically every decision he was making. You know, his realization of, oh my god, I can do whatever I want, and then him going through, you know, the like, you know, let's just like love me,
that
father.
Really bratty phase.
Yeah, right. Like all of that stuff, you can see all of that, and it felt correct and natural for this character. Where, like, I don't really know what this character is at the moment.
And, you know, maybe he doesn't know either. Maybe that's intentional, but it feels like no one knows what he is.
He kind of knows. I think I just want him to verbalize his conflict a bit more. And we saw a little bit of that. There's a moment where you play as him. By the way, my reaction to, we play as Atreus was the biggest, fuck. Why? Because I don't think it was fun.
No, but like, was that your reaction as soon as you took control of the sticks, or?
Yeah, because I'm like, oh no, they've made another character to play as, and I don't trust like that. And then I played it. I'm like, this doesn't feel good as Kratos.
No, it's not as good as Kratos. It's fine.
I don't enjoy it. Like I'm playing these sections being like, hope this ends soon. I don't really particularly enjoy being an archer in this game that has really incredible, like, you know, and like melee combat. That's
an indestructible bow.
Yeah, right. Like this, like it's just worse Kratos.
Great worse.
Yes. Yeah. He's got a little bit of like him going through his own thoughts in some of those sections. Yep. But not enough that I know what he's thinking. And like he's winging it for a lot of it, but why?
Yeah, totally. I was expecting a moment like that, but I was expecting more of a like The Last of Us switch, you know, like 2/3 through the game, maybe Kratos is like dead or he's injured or something,
yeah.
And Atreus has to go out on his own to do something. I was expecting a switch like that.
Yeah, not
But-
just like a hilarious like, where were you, like peeing, and it was like oh, like everyone's like ha 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 ha, and I'm like,
It sounds to me like you didn't actually mind that you don't mind the treehouse interstitials. You mind that one scene. Because all of the things you've done so far, all of the examples you've done of that being awkward is only from that scene. Like the Sindri getting up to build a table, and Tyr can cook, and he says I'm peeing, and all of that. That's all from just the one scene.
No, the build a bigger table thing.
It's the one scene, I promise you.
It's not, but
It is.
But no,
it is, buddy. I watched it yesterday. I was watching someone streaming it. It is that scene when he comes back from Midgard.
No, because that's when the table is built. Is when he comes back from Midgard. Because he builds he builds a bigger table before Tyr starts to cook.
Jeremy, do you want to do a pizza bet?
No.
Because I'm right?
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay. What would you like to bet? Because I'm down to get some free stuff right now.
What I'm saying is that
Yes.
I don't like those scenes.
Sure. Okay. No worries.
That's
fine.
Yeah. It's look,
yeah.
I think like just like I'm worried about time a little bit. The presentation, I think we've sort of spoken about for the most part, right? Like how the story is told. Unless you have specifics you want to bring up.
I do want to say it's gorgeous. Like it's a game that visually I have no issues with. And at moments I am stunned by.
I'm kind of not.
Okay.
Like I mean, like I'm not. It looks good. Like it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it looks good. It looks like a. I think there's no wow moment for me.
Definitely. There's no playing Uncharted 4 for the first time. I can't believe that this is happening on this console moment. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think because of the like it also is a PS4 game.
Yeah.
Like you can see some of that limitation.
I don't think it
is
detracts though.
No, like it looks good. It definitely doesn't look bad in any spot. But it doesn't look like the PS5 God of War that I was actually hoping it was going to be.
Totally.
But not in a way that I'm like, this is bad. It's just like, oh,
totally.
Okay. It's just not that.
Definitely. It is nailed the bar. It has hit the bit where it's supposed to be, and that's good.
It looks good, and it is not going to be the Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 that is only next gen.
Totally. Or Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah. 16 might be on old platforms.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But yeah, also the audio, the music, it is spectacular. It's the kind of thing, it will be quite... It doesn't always stick to the front of my brain. It doesn't always jump to the front as like, this is something that I'm really paying attention to. But when I notice it, anytime I notice it, it's fantastic. I really, really think the soundtrack is quite fantastic.
I haven't heard it, but I think because I'm in a new place, I don't think I've set up my speakers correctly. So I just haven't heard that mix much.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about Odin?
Toby.
Odin? Do you want to talk about him at all?
I don't have a lot to say. Like he's fine. He's fine.
I really like that first scene with Thor and Odin.
Yeah, it's cool.
I like it because it's Richard Schiff. It's definitely Richard Schiff. And there's a moment where he doesn't talk with the same mythical kind of energy that the others do. Like he's just kind of that American guy that he is. But I really like it because it makes him come across as this like detached, almost like he's got this world under his control. Like he's almost like a corporate boss of the Norse realms. And like it feels kind of weird, but they own it. Yeah, he is. And because they own it, it resonates throughout the whole thing. When you get to see him more, it starts to work.
Yeah, he's like a mob boss. Is how I've seen him.
Where he's like, because he sits down and he's like, now Thor's boys, self-defense. He's like, you think he's gonna muscle you, and he's like, I'm willing to strike a deal, and you can keep the prisoner that I know you stole. And he's like, he's trying to be friendly, but he's clearly annoyed and he's clearly threatening you. But he's it's all under the artifice of being friendly. He's like, I didn't do a thing. Like, he's such a bastard.
It's weird. I don't like. I think he's doing a great job. I also don't know if he fits. I don't love his cadence, and I don't love a lot of the language that he's using. Only because the gods that we've seen in 2018 were a little bit more Shakespearean, right? Like the way Boulder spoke was. Like, Boulder was great. Like, what a fucking awesome antagonist. Because
very mysterious.
But you fucking hated him. Like, you hated him with every ounce that you possibly could because he was a prick. He was cocky. He was arrogant. But the way
and 4 sons too, Magni and Modi,
they were a bit, like, larger than life. Yeah,
and they were bastards.
Yes. Yeah, they were right fuckers. Whereas... Richard Schiff doing Richard Schiff, talking about and I understand that you had dealings with my ex. Like, that's a weird.
It does strike weird, doesn't it? It's
does.
Like, oh,
yeah, and like, I kind of Odin being as big as he is. To me, doesn't work in a way of like being like no. Sorry, as in Odin's personality, Odin's importance.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Odin's like level of hierarchy. He wouldn't need to not say Freya's name because to him it doesn't matter, right? But like him saying my ex is like it's like a sour spot.
Yeah. So you only really see him for like 3 minutes at the start.
Yeah.
And then you see more of him later.
Sure.
I think his characterization that you see at the start is true to what you see of him later, and how much you see of him and what you see of him later does fit and does work within the world. It is just a bit jarring when you meet him for the first time. It's like, oh, this guy's fucking weird.
Yeah, but like even Thor is a little bit more in line, I think, with the rest a little bit. Him talking about blood debts and him using terms of phrase that people don't use. People don't say blood debt, right? People say payback, people say revenge, people say like we're even. Odin wouldn't say blood debt in this characterization. He would say like, I don't know. He would say something along the lines of, like getting even. Like you're like, you owe me. I'm here to collect.
Yeah. Pay up.
Yeah.
Did you have any other points that you wanted to touch on?
Not necessarily. I think I'm overall enjoying it more. But right. I am seeing edges in ways that I'm enjoying less, I think. It's a weird game. I think it is messy. I am finding it less clean than the first. And part of that might also be like the first one was an interesting style of story that we hadn't quite seen to that scale at the very least.
And we didn't know how they were going to remake this franchise yet.
Yeah.
We didn't know what this was really going to be. If you remember, the part of the reason, I was poor at the time, but part of the reason why I didn't play it to start with is because I was just skeptical. I was like, I don't see why I should want to play this.
Yeah. Like it reminds me, like this is like a and this is going to be more negative to you than it is for me, but this is such an Age of Ultron game to me.
I've warmed on Age of Ultron over the years.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. Like I think Age of Ultron I think there's a good movie in there, and I think it's messy and structurally a bit balked and
trying to do too much.
Maybe one too many characters, not enough time. And weird moments that are kind of just like what is really happening?
Why is that here?
Yeah, and I'm feeling a lot of the same things. And similarly, it's like Age of Ultron, like it's like, oh, it's more of a known quantity. We don't have to do as much setup. Some characterization happened off screen. Here's some things you sort of brought into the middle of the beginning of the story as opposed to the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see how you feel when you get through the other side. One last thing I'll say is you're like, oh, I don't know how much I'll go to the side content. I think some of the side content is, I have enjoyed the writing as a whole in this game. I've enjoyed these characters, and I enjoy kind of every moment I get to spend with them and see their dynamic and see how they discuss things with each other. Like Atreus, one moment you have in the boat when you're in, or anywhere in one of the open sections, there's a moment where he starts talking about how he thinks his beard's coming in, and Kratos and Mimir start to very quietly,
poke at him.
Yeah, Atreus is like, what he says? I think my beard's coming in, and there's like a silence, and Kratos says, "Is it?" I won't spoil the rest for you.
Yeah.
But like any shit like that, I love. I'm totally there for. So my point being, the side content, I think all of them have unique stories alongside them and great moments that bring you through and tell the story to you as you go through the quest and then come to a nice culmination by the end. There's not really been a dud side quest for me that I haven't been glad I spent time on. So even if you do just mainline the main path or only do one or two here and there, I definitely think you should have it in your head to go back to them at some point. Because from what I've played, I haven't done all of them. I haven't even done half of them. But from the ones that I've played have been excellent.
Are you enjoying the puzzles in this game?
There were some in Alfheim with the rebounding axe, which was like cool, but then some of it needed to be a bit too precise or like not precise enough, and that felt a bit wonky, or I didn't know where to look. And there's the problem that everyone talks about, how your companion is far too fast to tell you the answer to the thing. But then when you do get stuck, they have nothing to say.
We need to talk about that a little bit. Like the absolute sheer amount of dialogue that is just, here's the solution to the puzzle. That is almost fucking instant. Like, I'm sitting here like doing the puzzle.
Instant.
I'm doing it. Like, I'm in the middle of it and they're telling me like motherfucker, like I know, like I'm doing this right now. Shut the fuck up, actually. It is infuriating me. I
haven't heard anyone not complain about it.
I'm not super loving the puzzles. Like, I think they're fine, but a lot of them sort of like, a lot of them I think take too long for the solution that isn't that difficult. It's just like many steps, and because you sort of got to like lumber around a little bit and jump across and then climb up. I'm like I know it. Like, just bring this a little bit shorter so I don't have to walk as much.
I still like the Narnia chests, like the 3-rune combo chests.
Like, those are good. Also, the abundance of chests in this game, I feel like I'm tripping over them every fucking 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty true to the 2018 experience.
I want to say they were far more spread out, or at least a bit more, less on the main path maybe is the issue, because you're just bumping into them when you're not even in any hidden areas. Like, hey, there's a big chest, and there's the one over here that's on fire, and there's one on here that's an Narnia, and there's one on here that's like there's so fucking many of them, and it's making me care less and less about what's actually inside them. I'm like, well, there's another one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Caring less about what's inside them, and you just open it because it's there. But yeah, I always felt like there were heaps.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, the gameplay is not worse. I think it is better in a lot of very subtle ways that are hard to put your finger on. But overall,
it feels...
The game is...
Yeah.
For me, the game has met the expectations that it set in 2018.
I feel like the blocking is a little bit off for me, maybe.
Yeah, I felt a bit strange, because they take away your original shield, and you have to choose a couple of other ones. Which one did you choose?
The parry shield, of course.
Yeah, me too. And honestly, I tried... Because you have those two, and then you get the original shield back at some point. There are like 2 or 3 others. I stayed with the Dauntless shield, the parry shield, the whole time. It's the best one, I felt like. Have you? Okay, so you know how in Alfheim they tell you to shield bash enemies with a blue circle around them to interrupt them?
Yeah.
Do you know to do that after a parry, and you'll get a super strong shield bash? Because they don't tell you that for like 10 hours.
I didn't know that.
So do that, and you'll feel better about the shield.
Okay.
When it's glowing yellow or red, it will do way more stun when you shield bash.
Okay. Like, what I didn't like was this weird, like, the slow-mo as if I've got a parry, except I missed it, and then a slow-mo attack just continues to hit me. I've had that.
if your shield gets if your stance gets broken.
Yeah, but why the fuck is it in slow-mo? It
know.
takes forever, and I feel like it's like a bug. Like I feel like it's it's triggering effect of what a parry should have been, but what it's doing is like I've been parried, and therefore the enemy gets to do the cool slow-mo fucking attack on me while I'm stunned, and I'm sitting here being like fucking let me control, bring it back to normal speed. It's happening a lot because I'm
pretty sure. Oh, that just means you need to parry better, Jeremy.
I mean, yeah.
That means it's your fault.
It has made me parry better.
I'm pretty sure it was like that in the first one too. I think that's intentional.
Okay.
Well, we'll leave it there. We've got more to talk about once Jeremy's played more of it and we talk more about the rest of the game. But until that point, we're going to leave it there and we're going to go to a break. We'll come back with impressions on Sonic Frontiers and Marvel Snap. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. We've been discussing all sorts of things during the break, like egg chairs and... What else did we talk about?
Speakers.
Speakers. And I feel like there's something else. Cats.
Cats.
And forearms.
Have you ever watched on YouTube real-time dub of video games? It's a YouTube channel where they do real-time dubbing of video games. No. I've linked the Resident Evil one before in our Discord, which was like a people dubbing over Mr. X entering and exiting a room while chasing Jill.
I think I have seen that.
Yeah, it's very good. They do a lot of Sonic games as well.
The first thing I just googled real-time dubs, and the first video to come up is Sonic Adventure 2.
Yes, there's a lot of really great ones. There's one that is very, very, very funny that breaks everybody on cast, which is they go to like Shadow's base or whatever, and like they're talking about like you're like wow like well the only thing Shadow does in here is like play Fortnite or whatever, and like and it's like
there's a bunch of breakouts on Twitter of this. Is that them? Of like all those like fake.
So some of them are that. Some of them are just like just people doing skits over Sonic.
Okay.
Like so like it's sort of it because it lends itself to both. But there's one specific one where like yeah like but like you know like Cream and Rouge and stuff they like enter like Shadow's base, which is just like a big screen with like a keyboard at the bottom of it, and like Shadow walks in and he just says the phrase like "Welcome to Tilted Towers," and everybody there fucking dies. It is so good. It is so fucking funny.
I've loaded one of those up for me to watch at the. Yeah. Oh, they did one for Sonic Riders. Did you ever play Sonic Riders, Jeremy?
I didn't. I've seen gameplay, but I never played it myself.
That's like the one Sonic game I actually owned growing up.
Yeah.
And it was this fucking hoverboard racing game.
Yeah, yeah.
That game was decent until the times where it sucked. Funny. Well, speaking of the little blue bastard.
Tell me about him.
I've been playing Sonic Frontiers this weekend.
Tell me everything. Actually, wait, before you do, how much do you agree with my initial impressions?
From PAX.
Yeah.
Let me just pull them up for us. We go to Twitter, we type in Obi-Wan Jez Sonic.
Yeah.
Just played Sonic Frontiers at PAX Oz, and it was ... confused. What a strange game that is trying to do a lot of things, but does few of them well. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It is strange. It is trying to do a lot of things. I think my fundamental problem with this game, it is not without merit. I do think I enjoy it less than Gotham Knights.
Oof.
It is its main thing of Sonic running around and then getting on like grind rails and doing platforming and going on bounce pads feels really at odds. It feels really directionless. because it's open, you just kind of like stumble across, oh, here's a rail in the ground. And people have gone on to be like, oh, there's just stuff floating in the air. It looks like a prototype. What the hell is this? And people have come to its defense like, oh, it's a video game. All video games are like nonsense rails and things that don't make sense. But no, this feels really contextless. It like when you compare it to something like a 25-year-old game like Sonic Adventure 2, and like the grind rails are like handrails on stairs as you go down the hills in San Francisco, right? Like they're authored environments that mean something, and those mechanics work in that environment. It feels really strange to just be on these things that are just in the middle of nowhere. And like you'll get on one and it's like, oh, I wonder if this is going to take me somewhere. And you get a bunch of rings and you flip left and you flip right and you flip right again, and it makes you do a loop to loop, and then you go boom 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 boom, and it sends you through a speed ring, and then the speed ring just sends you out onto the ground in this world again where you started on the other side of that thing. Maybe there's like a little task for you to do to reveal more map or something. But a lot of the time it's like, oh, this might lead me somewhere, and it doesn't. Or if it does, it's like kind of more of that. And like, that's fine. But it still feels like it's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Because the thing with this game, right, you got your friends have been turned into like digital world, whatever, and you got to free them. And the way you do that is by like collecting different currencies, basically. This game is collect 3 or 4 different currencies to unlock the different things you have to do. Like, you need gears by destroying enemies to unlock the cyberspace levels, which are the like linear, short, like classic Sonic levels. Those give you vault keys, which you use to unlock the Chaos Emeralds. But you also need to progress the story of the character in that zone that you're in, and you do that with their own unique resource. For Amy, it's like hearts, and for Knuckles, it's like war medals for some reason. You just find those, and so you need to have enough of those to start the next conversation. They're just memory tokens, but like, I'm looking at these things, and I'm like, I don't know what these are. They're really small in the world. And then when you go to like break him out of his prison so he can like walk around, Sonic like holds them up. I'm like, it's just like a medal. What is that? It's just a red war medal.
Knuckles is a troop.
Yeah, he's a vet, I guess.
Knuckles went to Vietnam.
No wonder he's so prickly.
Oh my god, Knuckles went to war. Knuckles has done service.
We have to make sure that he remembers so that he can come back from cyberspace.
Knuckles has got a box in his closet that he told you never to open.
It's his old service revolver.
Knuckles is the one that he never talks about his past until he's like disassociating. Fuck. Oh my god.
It doesn't make any sense.
Knuckles went to war.
So
wait. What? Who recruited Knuckles?
I don't know. They don't mention it. They don't talk about it.
Of course not. It was war, Kerry.
Don't mention it.
Knuckles did crimes. Knuckles did war crimes. Oh, fuck. Knuckles invaded. Knuckles signed up under false pretenses.
Yeah.
I need to buy this game.
I wouldn't go that far. So, yeah, those are the different currencies you do. So it's like, oh, here's a cyberspace level start point. Oh, I don't have enough gears. Okay, I should go fight some cyberspace monsters in the world, right?
Sorry, Knuckles doesn't come to the New Year's Eve party. Knuckles needs to stay indoors because the firecrackers set him off.
Oh no, poor Knuckles. I don't know, he's still his edgy self. There's this weird moment when you free him where he's like, fine, help me break out of this thing. And Sonic's like, fine. And Knuckles like moves to the side and like grins at Sonic. He's like, and then Sonic like stands there and then goes like back, and then they like just get like uncomfortably close, like, and just like act like aggressively smile at each other because they're friends, but they're ants. They're like
they're war
negative
buddies.
friends. So even when they decide to work together, they're still like trying to out-smile each other, I guess.
Knuckles and who?
Weird. Sonic.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So you need to get more of these gears. So you need to fight these things on the ground. I think 80% of all of these fights suck. I think some of them...
I'm still laughing at Knuckles going to war.
Yeah, I know.
I'm imagining him in like Dunkirk, like sitting in the boat, like terrified, like has no idea what's gonna happen. Like the planes are flying over, and he's like looking up, being like, "What have I got myself into?" Oh, this is just what I'm gonna be like for the rest of the episode.
It's a bottomless pit.
Saving Private Knuckles. Oh.
So I think 80% of all the enemy encounters blow. I think they're bad. I think all of the named bosses are bad. There's one where you have to like run up its arms, and it's got like 3 different like energy spires on its head. It's like, cool, these are kind of like Colossus things I have to climb. That's interesting. And then you get to the top, and then the spire, you break one spire, and it's whatever. And then you get to the top again, and then the spire has like an electric ring around it, and you still got to punch the thing. You don't have any ranged attacks. You don't have any ranged attacks, and like you don't have that much control. Like I can't really tell how to get away from this thing, to get away from the lightning rings. But I have to get close to punch it. Exactly what I felt
playing it. Exactly what I
felt. So I kept
felt.
dying because I had to punch it, but I didn't know how to get away, but I had to be close. So that took me forever. And there was multiple of them. So I did one, and I was like, fuck that. And there was another one in the next zone where you have to... It drops like grind rails that are just circles. And you have to make 3 consecutive circles on these side-by-side circles. And it throws like energy blasts at you. Like, and so you have to dodge it, but still create the consecutive circles. That one killed me a bunch of times. And I think part of the reason why I hate these combat encounters is because your rings are your health, right? That's classic Sonic. When you get hit, you lose a bunch of your rings. If you have 0 rings when you get hit, you die. You can carry 400 rings at the start of this game.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to gather rings. Cat's doing zoomies.
Yeah, she likes to fuck with like the corners of rugs, and so we've got a rug down here which is like a little bit beat up, and she loves to just like sideways grab it, and her back feet like just grab her back feet will just like punch.
Yeah.
And her eyes
like holding onto it with the front feet.
Yeah, it's fucking so funny. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So yeah, you have these rings. You can have 400. You get hit. The problem is, like, you pick up 400 rings, and it takes a while to gather them, unless you want to do the thing to get more health, where you do the, like, psi loop, and you just run around in a circle for 30 seconds to get more rings, which is boring. But the best way to get rings to gain rings for a fight, anyway. So you get hit once in this game, if you have max rings, and you go from 400 to, like, 160, but you only drop 20 of them, so you can only pick up a few. And then you get hit again, you're down to 0. You get hit again, you're dead. And if I'm on a grind rail, I can't get any more rings. I can't even pick up the ones that I drop. Oh man, I think the fights suck in this game. Yeah. They're way too hard, way too punishing. I almost lost the first like supersonic fight you have to do because it's just timed and you just get punched. But then the problem with that is that when you get hit, it sends Sonic like away, and because like your rings are just a timer now, they're not your health. That's only a problem because it wastes time, and if you lose time, then you fail. And so when the thing punches you, it just sends you away and puts the camera facing Sonic with the enemy behind you. And it takes control away for like 5 seconds. So Sonic gets blasted away, and he slowly comes back into the arena. But then they don't spin the camera back around for you so you can see the thing. So you start trying to get close, and it punches you again. It's got this thing where once it's punched you away, it will automatically punch you unless you can see it. So you have to spend time to spin the camera back around so you can see this thing coming. It's not good. There was one of those fights where I was playing on the couch next to Sam, and I said, "Man, fuck this game." I said it out loud, and Sam's like, "What do you have to do?" I said, "Quit." Sam was like, "Oh, why is it hard?" I'm like, "I'm not engaging with this. I don't even want to talk about it. I hate it."
I can't wait to play it.
Why? Why, Jeremy? You've been so fascinated by this game all of a sudden.
Because
Is it because some people like it?
it's because it's trying something.
Jeremy, you know what it is trying to... So, you know what Sam's impression of this game was? Complete, on-the-nose, Breath of the Wild knockoff.
Yeah, I know.
The shrine design,
I got that
the
stuff.
enemy design, the like pink laser beams is like Calamity Ganon.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
what is it trying? I don't know that it's trying anything, because its best levels are the cyberspace levels, which are just remixed old levels or levels made in the style of the old Sonic games, in which case it's not trying anything. That's not true. It's trying something, but I don't think it's in the way that you want it to be.
No, I know, but that kind of works.
You're such a tragic.
I know, dude. Like it's because I think it's just because it's hitting that mark of some people love it and some people hate it. Like that is like I need to know why. Like I need to know the reason that people are being like this game was great fun. I enjoyed it from cover to cover. I did a bunch of the side stuff and I just had a fucking blast. Some people like David from Kotaku are like, I played this game and I didn't even want to review it because I didn't like it that much. Like I just didn't write a review because I was like, I'm just not having fun.
Totally.
Which is like also like that's fascinating. Like I need to know because like because knowing that going in, you can kind of see a lot of the both ends of that argument.
Totally.
And that's interesting.
It is interesting. Like the movement does feel fun when it flows, right? That's cool. Like when it flows, that's cool. But I don't feel like it does most of the time. I think it's only half or maybe less than half of the time.
And
it's...
Yeah, and like, look, the 3D Sonic games have always been bad. Like, they've never really been good. And so the idea that, once again, we go back to Breath of the Wild being the game changer, right? Like, the game that changed everything. Like, more so than almost any game has done in the past 10 years. Like you know, the game that got Pokemon to change. The fact that Sonic is trying to do it, because that doesn't line up. That doesn't track with what Sonic is. And
like linear, like interesting levels, like linear platforming speed levels.
Yeah, no one was asking for Sonic to change, right? Like Sonic has always just kind of been... Okay, no one was asking Sonic to become an open world Zelda-esque game, right? Like,
sure.
People have wanted an open world 3D Sonic for a while, but not like this. People have wanted it to be, you know, interesting, like we said, interesting level design, fun mechanics, lighthearted, colorful, right?
Oh, that's the other thing. I don't think it looks very good at all.
No, the game looks like butt.
So many broken effects, like Sonic's hair against sand just makes it alias. It makes it turns his hair into jaggies for some reason.
Whereas, like, you know, like people have been claiming for people have been wanting the Pokemon games that are coming out now for a very long time, and it took fucking Breath of the Wild to actually do it. Yeah. People didn't really want this from Sonic in this way, and they've done it anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. Honestly, at the end of the game, like, I don't hate the 4.5 hours I've put into it. There was fun enjoyment there, and when I was playing it and not being, like, broken, like, I think not all of the cyberspace levels are good. I don't like some of them, and I think that when the combat's bad, it's bad. But when there was moments of exploring, I did this, I found this new path that was cool that led me over here, or this took me on a big long thing. Like, that's kind of fun enough, but I'm kind of wandering around, and I either have full rings because I don't want to be in combat, or that's basically all you're getting is rings and war medals and hearts. And like, and like, I'm doing all of that, and I'm like, okay, I get these resources, so I can open this, so I can do that, so I can get the Chaos Emerald, so I can do this, so I can do that. But it feels like I'm doing nothing. It feels like nothing. It feels like it's okay, but the moment to moment isn't really for anything. It's not enjoyable enough to... I would far rather load up Vampire Survivors for the 4.5 hours I played and do 12 Vampire Survivor runs than play more of this game. And Vampire Survivors is pretty samey. It's you, and you upgrade your attacks, and you get thrown enemies at you for half an hour if you can survive that long, and maybe you get some unique combinations, and it's loud and it's bright, and that's it. That's it. And I think that is a much better use of your time, and it's 20 times less expensive than this game, and it's just better. I would rather be doing so many other things than playing this at the end of the day. And I don't mean that as like a I hate you, but I mean that as in like I don't know why I would choose this over anything else. I would much rather put more time into Horizon or Sifu or Pokemon Legends Arceus, honestly. Like, I mean, I was high on that game, so that's not surprising. But like...
Scarlet and Violet coming out on Friday.
I have very little interest in those from what I've... Maybe I need to watch a better breakdown trailer, but people are excited about it, and I'm just like, I don't see it, guys.
Look, I'm getting it because I managed to get it cheap, but like... And I also haven't played a mainline Pokemon in quite a while, excluding Arceus and Let's Go.
Yeah. If you want to get in and play it, great, go for it. But man,
I will before the end of the year. It's
get a deal.
Look,
don't buy it for $100.
I don't know if it'll stay. I've seen the price drop dramatically in the States already.
Okay.
They're selling it for 48 already.
Well, down from 60, right?
Yeah. Like
you don't normally see that in the States. That's more of like a JB Hi-Fi kind of move.
Inglorious Knuckles, Hacksaw Knuckles,
Knuckles Ridge.
Yeah, Knuckles Ridge. Full Metal Knuckles. Bridge on the River Knuckles. Hang on, let me the Dirty Knuckles.
Dirty Knuckles.
I
don't know that many war movies.
Knuckles List.
17. What? Knuckles List.
Knuckles List.
What the fuck? Oh my god.
The Longest Knuckles.
Oh my god. That's why you can only see the red jacket. Because it's the color of Knuckles. Oh no.
Oh man.
So we're not gonna talk about this because it's not a Fortnite. But Jeremy, I just need to let you know, as of last night, I am level 99 on the Battle Pass.
Ooh, that's fun.
It's so fun. One more thing, and I've unlocked Gwen, and then I can see how far I get in the next couple of weeks if I unlock the alt skins for them, for all the other characters. I'd like to be able to unlock the one where she's got her mask off.
Her head out, yeah.
But we'll see. I think that's another 20 levels. I can maybe get there, but it's pushing it by the end of the season.
Yeah, right. That's exciting.
First time I've ever completed the Fortnite Battle Pass.
Yeah, I mean, it'll only be the second time when I do this one. And I'll have a ton of fucking challenges to do.
Oh, yeah. But it's just like, I've done it mostly solo too. I don't play Battle Royale solo. I just don't, because I get too stressed. But I'm finding Fortnite relaxing. Anyway,
like, are you
I'll
doing
save it for next week's Fortnite.
Okay, cool. I'm playing more Marvel Snap, Kerry.
Tell us about it.
This game continues to be fucking great. The level of me playing it has increased dramatically once again.
Like amount of time.
Yeah, like I'm now just I'm now logging in every single day.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Just like on my phone, like I'm in bed. What can I do? It's between the hours of 10 and midnight. Let's play Marvel Snap for an hour and a half. Let's get through all my dailies.
Yep.
And I'm doing it.
Listening to something at the same time, or
Not really. I'm just jumping in. I enjoy the sound effects in this game well enough that I have the game on like very low volume.
Alright,
so
cool.
so like it doesn't like annoy my partner while they're asleep. But like I will play this game in bed just when I'm like not tired enough to go to sleep, but like tired enough that I don't want to really do much else.
Mhm.
I am a devil dinosaur fiend. So
what the fuck does that mean?
So Devil Dinosaur Kerry is a card that a lot of people hate, and I love it. Because for every
Are you like Zerg rushing in StarCraft?
kind of the opposite. I'm dropping a bomb at the end of every single round. At round 5s and round 6.
Okay.
Inside of Marvel Snap, I am just making people leave. I am making them retreat from playing the game when I drop. Like maybe.
So what do the bombs do? Do they destroy random cards or lower their
it's
power?
By bomb, I mean figuratively. Like so Devil Dinosaur. What it is? So there's a combo you can pull off. There's a character called Moon Girl who, when you play Moon Girl, I think she's 4 power and 4 attack, which is fine. But her ability is it duplicates your hand, so then your hand suddenly is twice as which is a lot.
Especially if you've got a good hand.
Definitely. Turn 4, play Moon Girl. Hopefully, on turn 5 you have Devil Dragon, Devil Dinosaur.
Devil Dragon is a much better name.
Devil Dinosaur. For every card in your hand, it gains 2 power.
Okay, right. And you've just doubled your hand, so you've got plenty of cards, so you've got plenty of power.
And it is ongoing. So you can play Moon Girl after the fact as well, and it'll work. So it is not a I detect how many you in your card now upon reveal.
It doesn't get set on play. It's active at all times.
Yeah. So what I do is I play a hand that makes sure that I have the most amount of cards in my hand at the end of the game. So I've got characters like the Sentinel, where when you play it, you get a duplicate in your hand. So basically it will never leave your hand.
Yeah.
Certain cards like Mantis or Agent 13 that when you play them, depending on the enemy, you might get a card. Same with Cable as well. When you play Cable, you get like a random card from an enemy's deck gets put in your hand. There's a handful of others as well. You want to be drawing as many cards into your hand at any given moment, so that when you play Devil Dinosaur, a 5 energy card will sometimes have 17 or 20 damage just from this one fucking card. Yeah. And if you play
stronger
a card,
than Hulk and like
and if
thing,
you play your cards right with Moon Girl, you can have 2 Devil Dinosaurs, one on turn 5, one on turn 6.
Oh no! So you've got 2 cards that basically win the location single-handedly.
Almost, yeah.
Wow.
And that is excluding the cards I've played prior.
Yeah, which could synergize. You could have an Iron Man on the field, which doubles it, and
Yep. Like not really, because Iron Man is also high cost, so it's hard to get an Iron Man and a Devil Dragon. But a card like the Collector, for example, which is very interesting, which is it's a 2 cost card with only 1 health at the beginning. One power at the beginning. For every card that enters your hand, it gains 1 power. So that card can become like a 7 or 8 by the end. Sometimes a little bit more.
Moon Girl.
Especially with Moon Girl. It's awesome. It is so fucking cool. It is such a fucking sick trick. I've been having just the best time making people retreat the moment. Like, I played Moon Girl on turn 4. I then play Devil Dragon turn 5. They retreat because oftentimes they know I've got a Devil Dinosaur turn 6 as well. They're like, "Oh fuck! Like, I'm out. Like, fuck you. Like, I don't want to play anymore." Like,
you win. Goodbye.
It is so good.
With a game that quick, I wouldn't submit on the second to last turn. I'd play it out. You know what I mean? Like, just throw a card out there, end the game. Like, surely they don't get points or tokens or whatever if they do that.
So the snap mechanic is what determines that. If you snap, that is like putting chips on the table. So when you snap, the earlier you snap at the top of the screen, the more turns that go by after you snap, up to like I think 4, or like a little bit earlier if you both decide to snap. That is what determines your tokens. But if you leave on turn 5 and no one has snapped, then I think you only lose a handful of points, like maybe like 2 or 3 points max.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've snapped and then you leave on turn 5 or turn 6, and it's like, yeah, that's basically like, it's basically a loss. But what they're doing is just saving time because they don't want to have to fucking bother even trying to fight against it.
Yeah, wow. Okay, interesting.
There is a counter. There is an immediate counter, and that is the Shang-Chi card.
What does Shang-Chi do?
Shang-Chi on Marvel Snap. Let me just read.
Shang-Chi punches devil dinosaur in the face. It's its active ability.
It kind of is. So, destroy all enemy cards at this location that has 9 or more power.
Oh, right. That is just a counter, isn't it?
It is a hard counter, and I've been fucked by Shang-Chi.
Antidote.
Yes, I've been fucked by Shang-Chi so many times.
Yeah.
Which is funny. So. There's also an interesting card that I just got, which is the Infonaut, which is a turn. It is a 6 cost card, which you could only play if you didn't play a card on turn 5, and it is 20 power.
Whoa!
It is very you have to dedicate 2 turns to it.
Yeah, that's huge. That's outrageous.
Yeah, it's a lot. Fucking fun though.
Cool.
This game's great.
I wish I felt more confident in my phone. I was telling you before the show why I haven't installed it on my phone yet, which is that like I can't plug in my phone and have it take less than 6 hours to charge, unless I sit there and baby it for like 10 minutes to try and plug it in just right. So I want to be charging my phone the least amount possible right now. I need to get a wireless charger because it's got wireless charging, and theoretically that shouldn't be broken. Yeah. That should work fine. The battle pass is far too much money for this game. It's $15 battle pass. That's far too much. Especially it's only lasts a month, right?
Yeah, every month there's a new one. And
so like 50. So what they want you spending $180 on this game over a year. I mean, obviously they want you spending more than that, but like.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty cheeky. The plus like you don't get any bonuses for buying it early. Like you don't get any XP bonuses or anything. You just get the rewards as you unlock them, as opposed to only getting half of them or less than half of them. Because you get the free.
So you could just buy the battle pass at any point.
So that's what I did.
It doesn't change anything.
I bought it on the 31st of October last time because I got to the end of the battle pass and I was like, fuck it. I want the Miles Morales cards. I want the cool Spider-Verse variant of the Miles Morales card that's got the cool effect on it. So I copped that on the final day, and I was like,
Black Panther this month, right?
Yeah.
What's the inclination for that one?
I'm less keen on it. I think the Black Panther card is interesting. It just doubles. When you play Black Panther, on reveal of playing the card, Black Panther itself doubles its own power.
Oh.
Which you might think like that seems kind of weird. But like there are ways you can play with other cards that'll cause the on reveal effect to play again, and then like again. So like there are ways you can like exponentially make that card.
Yeah.
But it's. Yeah, I don't know.
Is it $15 worth?
Like, I don't have a deck for that yet. So
yeah, and that is too much money for like a hypothetical deck. Is like, oh, that'd be nice to have in the future if I get this. Like, no one wants to put $15 down for that. Well, people will. That's the thing. People will. I say no one wants to, or they want you to. Yes, they do want you to, and people will.
Yeah.
That's annoying. This is their monetization with it being less egregious, right? After that whole debacle where they had to, you remember that during the beta where they had that event and they had to just completely scrap it because they were like, yeah, no, okay, you're right. This is just so bad, we're nuking it. It's gone.
I played that event.
Yeah.
that was my impression as well. Like, this event is not good.
Yeah.
And hey, like, good for them for, like, you know, the event was ending in a couple of days, and then they're like, yeah, after this, I'm not doing any more events like this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like, good on them for actually doing that, as opposed to just, like, you know, I could also have seen the conversation was just like, yeah, the mouse told us to.
The mouse.
This is what the card is. This is what the game is.
Where's the devil mouse card? Well, cool. That's it for us this week, everybody. I have no idea what we're coming to you next week with, aside from our topic of the show, which will be another retrospective Game of the Year discussion. We're going to be looking at the year 2009, looking at the games that came out that year, and talking about which ones we think were our favorites, personally, and also personally, separately.
Personally and professionally?
Not just personally. Unless were you getting paid to play games when you were?
Oh yeah.
Bloody hell, were you 12?
Maybe 13.
Maybe 11. 2009.
Yeah. Hang on, math.
You would have been 11 for most of the year, right? And then 12 just the end of it.
9, 11, 13 or 14. No, 12 or 13.
No, I was 14 in 2009, so you were at least 12.
13. I'm 1 year younger than you. No, I'm 2 years younger than you.
No, you're 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You're closer to 3 years younger than me because you're like the end of one year and I'm like the start of another.
Yeah. I'm 2 years younger than you.
Yeah. Oh, I order. We're gonna go, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you for getting to the end of the show with us. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you sticking around for us. If you enjoyed the show, please rate it positively wherever you're getting this show, be it on YouTube, be it on Twitch, or on any podcast service of your choice. You can follow us, or rather, you can follow the MiniMap account on all of our socials. That's Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch at MinimapAU to find out what our next topics are going to be, or rather when the shows go live. It's a great place to know that. You can also follow us individually as well. Twitter has been just an absolute shit show this last couple of weeks.
Follow us on Mastodon.
Yeah, come join the MiniMap server on Mastodon, I guess. We don't have that, but we are still on Twitter as it is burning to the ground. You can follow me at KJPalmer_24. Jeremy, where can they follow you?
At Obi-Wan Jez.
It's just an absolutely fascinating place to be right now. Do you think it's going to survive, Jeremy? I think it will.
I don't know. Like, I honestly have no idea.
I think they're going to chase their tails. Like corporate are going to chase their tails for like 3 months. And I think they're going to lose a lot of people. And then I think it'll stabilize and it'll just peter out, but over like 10 years.
We'll talk about it in the post show. I've got some thoughts.
Yeah. Let's do that. Another great reason, if you're interested in that show, to watch live on Twitch on Monday evenings in Australia, in Australian time, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, not Danlight Time. We're going to talk about that on the post show, just like we've been talking about random other things like egg chairs in the break.
You can also go to youtube.com/@MinimapAU as well, because YouTube has handles now.
/@MinimapAU?
Yeah, it's weird.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Because there's
/@MinimapAU?
So there's slash for like YouTube partners.
Yeah.
And then there's /@ for everyone else.
Oh, well.
How
if you want to
weird.
be like everyone else, or you want to be with everyone else, come join us at /@MinimapAU.
I also think all the partners got told, you better pick up your handle fucking sooner rather than later. Otherwise, like, we will make this public. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange feature.
Yeah. I think they wanted a reset on URLs because there would have been old, because you used to be able to decide what your YouTube channel was.
There are so many old URLs.
Could you
so many
imagine?
channels that have renamed and yeah.
Yeah.
Lastly, if you wanted to support us monetarily, you could do that on Patreon if you want to help us keep the lights and mics on. You can go to patreon.com/MinimapAU And for $5 you can ask us questions to answer on the podcast or while supporting us out. It helps us out a lot. And if you choose to do that, we thank you so much. Aside from that, we're out. Jeremy's first episode from his new place, hopefully one of many. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thank you so much. Goodbye.